Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching first part of What If Kid Naruto Was a Jashin God. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto Uzumaki, 5 years old, was sprinting down an alleyway as quickly as his legs could manage. A crowd of civilians surrounded him brandishing swords, knives, pitchforks, and other sharp objects. He ran until a brick was thrown at him, striking his legs and sending him crashing to the hard ground. He clenched his teeth and remained silent, understanding that yelling would encourage them. The crowd surrounded him, yelling at him. Demon. Monster. Murderer. They began beating him with blunt objects and slashing and stabbing him as they yelled at him. Then they all moved away as a man with pink hair approached him, grinning cruelly and brandishing a dull, rusted butter knife. Demon, don't worry, we won't murder you. No, but to serve as a constant reminder of who you are, we will brand you. He moved in closer, carving the Japanese character for Kitsune into his right chest in kanji. Then the number 9 on his left bicep, and lastly the number demon beneath his left eye in kanji. The dull and rusty butter knife was still in operation, leaving a permanent scar. Naruto could not bear the pain, but he gritted his teeth and endured it. The man then pressed the knife into his side, cutting it halfway through. That was the signal for everyone else to keep on defeating Naruto. After 10 more minutes, he finally let out a cry of pain and continued until someone held his jaw open and someone else used tongs to grab his tongue. Next, they removed his tongue with a red hot knife and proceeded to gouge out his left eye. Come on, someone will eventually come along and arrest us if we don't leave. Upon hearing this, everyone stood up, hurried to tidy up, and pretended nothing had happened. Naruto was in so much pain that he was blind to their departure. Then the overwhelming pain caused him to pass out. Subsequently, an Anbu emerged from the shadows, ruthlessly tossing the boy over his shoulder before vanishing amid a flurry of foliage. Konoha Medical Center. The medical staff at Konoha's hospital was putting in extra hours to try to save Naruto. They understand that petty feelings have no place in a hospital, not because they care about the boy. They put their all into their work and take their responsibilities seriously. It also helps that the Hokage is keeping a close eye on them. The boy was finally stabilized after around 6 hours of labor, and they did their best to heal him. He is now sleeping in a hospital room. All in all, he lost the ability to speak, lost his left eye, had scars all over his torso, and had kanji on his right chest, left bicep, and under his left eye. 3 days after the attack, he awoke to find the Hokage beside him, reading his small orange book while blushing and laughing a little. Gazing up at Naruto, his eyes grew wide with shock and he smiled a little, melancholy smile. Naruto, okay, I'll have you write down what you would like to say. He gave Naruto a little notepad and a pencil so he could write after receiving a nod. For how long? 3 days, Naruto. Why me? You're not ready for the information, Naruto, so I can't tell you yet. I will let you know after you graduate if you want to continue attending the academy. Naruto pouted and gave a slight scowl before picking up his pen once more. Is there a religion that allows people to relish suffering? Do you think I could learn to ignore that? Sarutobi sighed, realizing how old he was at the moment and that he was going to deny Naruto's religion. Then he stopped and considered how frequently he was attacked. He was aware that the villagers would cease believing they were providing him with pleasure instead of suffering. Next, he considered the benefits from a shinobi perspective, followed by the drawbacks. He concluded that the benefits outweighed the drawbacks. The only issue was that he was unsure of how to get everything started. Then he began to consider a deal he could strike with the ruthless man, recalling the Jashinist he had thrown into the Anbu prisons. Pardon me, Minato, Kushina. This is a lesser of the evils, and I don't have many options. All right, Naruto, I'm aware of the religion you mentioned. It's known as Jainism. You basically give your opponent's life as a sacrifice to a demonic lord named Jashin, who grants you invincibility in exchange. Keep in mind that it's not immortality, you can still pass away, but it must vaporize you if you haven't been praying and offering sacrifices to Jashin for more than a year. One such man was sent to one of our prisons a month ago. Naruto, keep in mind who you are and your principles, as I believe I can work out a deal with this man for you. Keep in mind that you are not allowed to murder people in the name of this religion, but feel free to murder anyone who tries to harm you in this way in the future. Thank you, Gigi. I might get some ramen. After giving it some thought, Naruto's eye widened and tears started to fall like a waterfall. He then wrote on the paper, I will no longer be able to taste my ramen. The following day, Anbu prison. A man with straight black hair and green streaks wore sweatpants and a blue long-sleeve shirt with the sleeves cut off at the elbows, sitting in a dimly lit cell. His eyes were yellow, and he wore a Jashin necklace around his neck. He was quietly mulling over the arrangement he struck with the Hokage. Rewind to 2 hours ago. Now I'm here to make a deal with you, so please hear me out before you decide. The man waved his hand in a go on manner while remaining silent and looking directly into the old man's eyes. You see, this village has a 5-year-old child who is frequently beaten and tortured. He is presently in the hospital, where he has multiple stab and slice wounds in addition to missing eyes and a tongue. He inquired about a religion that brought him joy rather than suffering. You want me to convert him to Jashinism and pray to Jashin? Sama? Not just that, I want you to train him in every art of the religion from the basics to the advanced forms, and I'm willing to give you a job that fits with your religion. Oh really now, and just what is this job? Standing, Hiruzen peered down at him. Then grinned so much that the man felt chills run down his spine. I'm prepared to put you in the role of an executioner, questioner, and torturer. I'll give you some time to consider it now. When you have an answer, just call for a guard. Close the flashback. Hey, guard, I've got an answer for the Hokage, so get you fucking ass over here, dipshit. I accept. A day before graduation, 7 years later. While idly working on paperwork behind his desk, Sarutobi Hiruzen noticed that the stack of papers appeared to be growing rather than decreasing. After 7 years of training, he peered out the main village gate, wondering if Naruto would be returning home today. He let out a sigh as he thought back to the uproar the council caused upon discovering Naruto would be joining the foul-mouthed Jashinist on a training trip. He slammed his head against the desk, realizing now that he had never asked for the man's name. He heard a disturbance outside his office shortly after, and then there was a loud crash as his secretary flew through the open window and through the door. Subsequently, 2 figures emerged from the doorway, with the taller one speaking. Hey old fucker, how the shitty village holding up? As they emerged from the shadows, the Jashinist and Naruto were recognized by the Hokage, whose eyes grew wide. The man had his Jashin emblem around his neck and was dressed in black cargo pants and a red shirt. Naruto stood at approximately 5 feet 4 inches tall, with his short, spiky hair still in a blonde color and one bright blue eye covered by an eye patch that had 3 straps wrapping around his head. There was a big smirk on his face and blood-red whisker marks now. He had ripped off the sleeves of his black haori and had a white diamond with the white kanji for 9 on his back. The area over his heart and his scar were visible because the chest was exposed. Imagine an inverted captain's haori. The cloak fastened with an orange sash was closed at the waist. A basic katana with a red, orange hilt and a Jashin symbol on the butt end was hanging off the sash. His cargo pants were black, and he had a kunai and shuriken holster on each leg. Black steel-toed boots completed the look. So, what was the outcome? The katana appears to be more than just a showpiece. Oh my god, the silent guy is awesome. He was so good that Jashin, Sama's greatest disciples, even bowed down to him. The blood ritual eye, also known as the Chinogashiki Omi, is a known dojutsu that was bestowed upon the fool by Hell Jashin Sama. Additionally, he picked up some weird ass shit from Naruto gave him an upside down head slap before he could finish his explanation. He made a few hand gestures and placed his hand on Hiruzen's shoulder as well as the now identified Jashinist, Yari. Everything darkened as they all fell back in their chairs. When they got to the ship's deck, which was cruising through a sea of blood, a figure emerged from what looked to be the captain's cabin. The figure was composed entirely of bone, with the exception of what appeared to be a blood-colored kimono. The eyes were the only exception. The black pupil had a silver Jashin emblem inside, and the black sclera was dark red with a bright red Jashin symbol. Ah Naruto. Kun, Yari. San, how are you? And this must be Hiruzen. Greetings, Jashin Sama. I'm assuming the sacrifices made earlier today have pleased you. Wait, you're Jashin, the demonic lord of brutality? Yari. San, they were really satisfactory. Yes, I am. I'm going to tell you about Naruto. Kun's abilities now, Hiruzen-san. Now keep in mind that you should not write them down because your council will undoubtedly find out and order you to create more soldiers who look like him. Although I value followers, I no longer need them. He is currently ranked mid. Chunin in your shinobi rankings for overall skill. His taijutsu is also at the mid Chunin level, and his kenjutsu is at the elite Junin level, as you would say. He can only control 2 of Kyuubi Baka's chakra tails and only knows jutsu that is related to me. He is a master in my arts, surpassing even my other disciple Hidan in skill. Hidan as in the S class criminal that destroyed the hot spring village? The same. Thank you, Jashin. Sama, we will depart and leave you to your meditations. The trio passed out once more, only to end up back in the Hokage's office. Yari got up and moaned under his breath about breaking his neck while cracking his neck. Sweating, Hiruzen cleared his throat to catch their attention once more. Now Naruto, with what Jashin told me your Chunin level, would you like to go straight to Chunin or would you like to graduate with those your age? Naruto indicated his desire to graduate with a few hand gestures at Anbu. With a chuckle, Hiruzen instructed him to report to room 402 at 10 a.m. the following day. He then gave them the addresses of 2 apartments and 2 keys so they could live there before they departed. The following day, as directed, Naruto was waiting for the sensei to call him inside room 402. He could hear some of the most obnoxious screeching he had ever heard in his life while he waited. After that, there was a loud shout, a brief moment of silence, and he heard the signal to enter the classroom. He noticed they were all glancing at him curiously as he walked in. He stood there for a few minutes before feeling uncomfortable, and then someone spoke up. Well, say something already. What's your name, age, likes, dislikes, and stuff like that. With a roll of his eyes, Naruto gave them the finger and parted his lips to display his tongue. Then approached the blackboard, wrote his name there, and wrote, the mute follower of Jashin. Sama, next to it. Subsequently, Sasuke intervened, attempting to portray him as feeble-minded. A religious freak who is mute cannot be a skilled shinobi. You must be a weakling, because that's why you have so many scars and have lost your tongue and eye. A few of the fangirls gave their Sasuke-kun a cheer, but they stopped when they saw Naruto's crazy smile. He vanished into thin air, only to reappear in front of Sasuke, who was crouched down on the desk. He then made his way back to the front of the classroom, his left index fingernail bleeding. After noticing the blood, Sasuke felt for any injuries before feeling a sting on his cheek. When Naruto licked the blood off his nail, his skin tone changed, revealing his skeletal structure and causing one of his ribcages to turn red. Then, knowing that a fangirl or 2 would soon descend to beat him up for attacking Sasuke, he waved Sasuke off. Naruto heard a groan from Sasuke and saw that he was covered in bruises and had blood on his nose, but he did not move or grunt. Sakura and Ino arrived like clockwork and began screaming at him. Naruto's color disappeared, exposing his bruises and bloody nose, which were all in the same location as Sasuke's. To the amazement of all, Naruto knelt down and clasped his hands together, seemingly in supplication. He made a motion with his lips to speak, but all he said was calm breathing. Everyone turned to see Hyuga Hinata staring down at Naruto with fear evident in her eyes as they heard a small gasp come from the far corner of the room. Kiba made the decision to identify the issue. Well, you're a Hyuga, you must know what he's saying. H. He is P. Praying T. 2S. Someone named J. Jashin for F. Forgiveness. Forgiveness for what? For N. Not S. Sacrificing S. Sasuke. San T. 2H. Him. Sacrifice as in kill? Iruka decided that the moment had come to introduce the class to Jashinism. Class, Naruto practices Jainism as a religion. Jashin is now the murderous and vicious demonic lord. One rather notorious S-rank criminal who is a Jashin supporter is called Hidan. In order to transform his hometown from a shinobi village into a hot spring resort, he completely destroyed it. Jashin is said to be a selective religion because there are currently very few Jashinists and because it is said that Jashin will not always accept someone. I've heard that a Jashinist is currently employed by us for questioning and torture. Naruto had just finished praying and was making his way to the empty desk nearest the door, so everyone was staring at him anxiously at this point. After taking a seat, he turned to face everyone and gave a menacing smile. Everyone swallowed and silently turned to face front. Now let's get on with the exam. After 3 hours. With a Konoha headband fastened to his right bicep, Naruto was making his way home. He was returning to his new apartment to have dinner and sleep when 3 civilians appeared in front of him and he stopped. Each one was wielding a kunai knife in a way that seemed menacing. Naruto did nothing but sneer and wait for their brief digression before attacking. Well, have a peek at this little demon that we have for a stroll. And here I was thinking you had finally passed away. That will need to be fixed, won't it? After that, they charged only to discover Naruto had vanished. However, they heard footsteps behind them. They all turned to see Naruto brandishing a blood-stained katana. The 3 noticed a deep cut on their arms and legs after feeling a burning sensation there. Glancing upwards, they observed Naruto running his finger along the blade's flat, gathering their blood on the tip. He put the finger in his mouth and drank the blood, and they all stared in macabre fascination. 3 of the 8 rib outlines were red as his skin once more changed color to reveal his skeleton. The 3 men charged Naruto and stabbed him with their knives, oblivious to the change. While Naruto was relishing the rush of pain-induced euphoria, they suddenly cried out in agony as stab wounds appeared on themselves. Taking a small pole from his haori, he swung it out to become a spear. Hidan had given him the spear as a gift for helping him become Jashin. Sama. Naruto grinned as he recalled the first ritual's amazing sensation of pain that came on gradually. He inserted the tip deep into his chest, piercing it all the way through. After finishing his ritual, he lay down and prayed for Jashin Sama to accept the sacrifices, scowling at how long it would take. He recalled Yari Sensei's complaint that the ceremony concluded with an incredibly long prayer. He only knew that the sun was rising when he started and setting when he left. He had no idea how long he had been there. Sitting apart and enjoying tea, Yari and the Hokage conversed about the weather. While some shinobi and civilians stared, others discussed how the men gave their lives to battle the demon. To everyone's surprise, he then reached up, took the spear out of his chest, and put it back into his haori. He stood up, approached the elderly man and Yari, and took a seat after accepting Yari's cup of tea. After a moment, Hiruzen broke the silence. "Alright, Naruto, if possible, please write a report for me by noon." They moved to attack first, I suppose. Hiruzen sighed and got up from his seat after Naruto nodded. "I have to head back to my office now so I can hopefully finish my paperwork. You can leave to go home because Anbu will clean this up. Hopefully, people will realize that this is not the place to attack Naruto." A week later, Academy team placements. Naruto let out a sigh and waited for Iruka to assign people to teams so he could finish this. Everybody was staring at him fearfully, expecting every move he made to make them cringe. At last, Iruka entered and proceeded to deliver his brief speech, expressing his pride and other similar sentiments until he eventually concluded. Team 1 is now in place, and Inuzuka Kiba, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura make up Team 7. Hitaki Kakashi is your sensei. Yuhi Kurenai is your sensei, and Team 8 consists of Uzumaki Naruto, Aburame Shino, and Hyuga Hinata. 9th team is still in the rotation. Sarutobi Asuma will be your sensei, and Team 10 will consist of Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji. Now demonstrate to us all your incredible potential as a shinobi. After Iruka left, a few Junin arrived, gathered their own teams, and transported them to different training grounds. Then a woman entered, her eyes the color of rubies, her hair raven colored and wavy like she was wearing what looked like bandages. "I'm Yuhi Kurenai, will Team 8 come with me to Training Field 8? After finishing her speech, she left, followed by Naruto, Shino, and Hinata. They arrived at a training field with a lake and a river leading out after strolling through the village in silence. A few training posts and several sections with diverse interior landscapes could be found there. Now, how about we each introduce ourselves? I'll start. As previously mentioned, my name is Yuhi Kurenai, and I enjoy tea, my friends, and genjutsu. I don't like sexists, perverts, or that particular orange book. Taking tea and learning new genjutsus are two of my pastimes. My goals for the future include getting married and starting a family. Why don't you go to Hinata next time? Hyuga Hinata is my name, and I enjoy flower pressing, cinnamon buns, and spending time with my sister. I detest perverts, b. bullies, and the c. cage bird s. seal. I enjoy pressing flowers, baking cinnamon buns, and gardening. Making my father proud and removing the cage bird seal are my goals for the future. Good, Shino, would you continue? My name is Aburame Shino, and I enjoy training in my clan's techniques, bugs, and my clan. I detest chemicals that kill bugs, repel bugs, and make me feel ignored. My interests include studying and gathering insects, as well as training my Kakaichu beetles. Becoming a good clan head and starting a family are my goals for the future. Finally, good Naruto, since I am aware that you are silent, I have brought a blackboard for you to write on. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I enjoy blood, pain, and Jashin. Sama. I detest those who are intolerant of things they do not comprehend, those who lack faith, and those who pray a long time after killing foolish people who believe they can harm me. My interests include kenjutsu practice, sharing pain, and praying to Jashin. Sama. My goals for the future are to locate Senju Tsunade, have her replace my tongue, and meet a true love. Kurenai instantly thought of her best friend as she glanced down at what Naruto had written. She gave a small shake of her head and focused on the work at hand. Before releasing them into the shinobi world, she would have to put their skills to the test. She looked over her team as she mentally reviewed their data. Alright, meet me here tomorrow at 6 AM and we'll do the true genin test. But sensei, I believe that we already took the genin test in the academy. Yes, Shino, but that was to weed out any lost causes. This is to catch any that aren't fully prepared for our line of work. Now your test will be tomorrow, so be ready for anything. Kurenai left the training grounds after saying those final words, but before she could be seen again, she went back to watch to see if they would make an effort to train and get to know one another. Shino recommended that they discuss their skills, weaknesses, and hopes. They conversed and gave demonstrations, the most startling of which was Naruto stabbing himself in the stomach. The two Junin entering the field with their weapons drawn went unnoticed. Well, look at this, the demon has corrupted two clan heirs. I wonder how the Hyuga and Aburame clans will take the deaths of their heirs. Oh well, at least we'll kill the demon in the end. Let's go. The Junin hurled their shuriken and kunai as they charged the genin. The only person not startled by this attack was Naruto, who took out his blade and deflected the projectiles. He winced, realizing that he would need assistance to defeat these Junin and that he was unable to communicate with his allies to plan an attack. He understood he would have to play the trump card. W. What do W? We D. Do shish. Shino. Kun, Naruto. Kun? Hinata received no response from Naruto other than him biting his thumb until blood flowed. She sensed him channeling chakra into his thumb, and he began using it to make air gestures. To the surprise of all, blood continued to float in the air, creating kanji that meant, massacre. Jashin. Sen. Naruto slashed it in half as soon as it was written, soaking up the blood in the process. The area was immediately enveloped in a crushing aura as Naruto's chakra output multiplied. His katana transformed into a naginata. The staff portion had the appearance of a bone. Like material, and the blade had the general shape of a spearhead, albeit with tiny, jagged edges that appeared to be extremely painful. Naruto also changed, sporting an open cloak with a high collar that appeared to be plated in bone. The most startling aspects of Naruto's appearance were probably the front of a human skull covering his face from the bridge of his nose to his chin and the 6-inch hole in his body where his heart was. His ribs also appeared to grow out of his skin, giving him only a minimal amount of armor. His left eye appeared to have returned as well, but it was different from the right one in that it had a bright red Jashin emblem inside the pupil, a silver Jashin emblem upside down, and a black sclera and dark red iris. Subsequently, he spoke in a low baritone with a faint echoey scratching sound. We fight them off until help arrives, Hinata. San. Yes, these are Junin at best, we can hold them off until someone comes to our aid. Oh no, Shino. San. I meant until someone helps these stupid motherfucking ass wipes before I destroy them until there is nothing left to sacrifice to Jashin. Sama. Though they are Junin rank, one of these fuckers doesn't have enough fucking chakra to keep up with a Chunin. But the first one looks stronger, so you two take the other one. Not that I'm insulting you guys or some fucking sentimental bullshit, these one will be the best one to test myself against. Oh, and try to catch him alive and see if they know any other fuck-ups that have the fucking balls of steel to start shit with me. Then I can sacrifice these dumb shits to Jashin. Sama. Everyone was on edge because of the way he delivered the last line. Then, Kurenai emerged from her hiding place, her expression ferocious. You stupid fucks, how dare you try to attack my students? Hinata, Shino, I want you two to help Naruto fight the Kurenai. Sensei, I thought I made it clear. I want the stronger one. Not to mention this will be a good field test for these two. That's what we are, isn't it? A field capture and interrogation squad. Why don't you go to the Hokage and get help in case we can't beat them? Naruto. You better keep those two alive. Hi Sensei, now go get help. The two Junin eventually found their way back when Kurenai departed. Thinking that Kurenai was the strongest opponent, I smiled as I watched her go. Then the men started to perspire profusely as the air became charged with killing intent, ki. Without another word, Naruto swung his naginata, sending a bony chain attached to the back and a jagged spearhead flying out. Then, in order to deal more damage and split the two Junin apart, Naruto fused the fire and wind chakras into the chain and tip. Hinata and Shino moved in the direction of the man Naruto said was Chunin level. As Hinata charged, Shino summoned his beetles and made them mass above him to divert the man's attention. She struck him in the calf, but that was the last blow she delivered before he attempted a palm strike to her chest. With a Juken strike to his abdomen, Hinata sidestepped it and thrust at his chest. A swarm of beetles attacked him from above and to his left, forcing him to jump back and move to the right to avoid being hit. Before they rushed up on his legs and began draining his chakra, he was unaware of the small swarm that was sitting on the ground. After that, Hinata charged and destroyed a few chakra points, immobilizing him for a minimum of 7 days. The Battle of Naruto. He withdrew the spearhead and charged his opponent as Shino and Hinata went to deal with the other man. He kicked the man in the leg, hoping to knock him down, after swinging from the upper left to the lower right. The Junin blocked the kick with a right hook after dodging the initial blow. Naruto turned and caught the hit in his armpit, allowing it to connect to his chest. Before he could escape, he gave the man a deep gash on his arm with his naginata. With a smile, Naruto silently licked his blade, relishing the taste of his own blood. His blood pounded with the man's anxiety and anger. Naruto's skin changed once more, but this time the markings turned into real bone armor with a red colored rib. You are now doomed as we feel the ultimate pain together. Other followers of Jashin. Sama would have to draw the symbol of our faith in their own blood, but I was blessed by Jashin. Sama with a new dojutsu called the Chinogashiki Omi, or the blood ritual eye. All I have to do is taste your blood and keep you in sight, and even if you hide in a genjutsu my eye will weave through it. Even then I can still use the traditional use. Now let's feel pain together. As he finished speaking, he reached into his haori and extracted his retractable spear, extending it. And felt an orgasmic rush of ecstasy as he plunged it into the hole in his chest. Time seemed to stop as a tiny hole appeared through his heart. He felt an unbelievably intense pain as it slowly grew, and then it struck him like one of Senju Tsunade's punches. A crippling depressive feeling that drove him insane. After taking out his tanto and inserting it into his fully developed hole, he was met with even more agony and despair. I see you've noticed the special ability of my blade's release form. It's called a Resurrection, which shows my ultimate form that Jashin Sama blessed me with. When I was converted Jashin Sama saw my potential and infused 3/4 of my chakra with part of his soul and chakra. This created my blade, which is called a Zanpakuto or soul cutter, and only few people are gifted with one. Each person who has one is called the Reaper of their god. Which means I am the Reaper of Jashin, and every blade is given the name of the god that Reaper, so mine is called Jashin. Jashin blessed me with many abilities, one of my favorites is called. Naruto vanished with a faint booming sound and some static, and then his voice could be heard coming from right behind the trembling, hopeless Junin. Sero. At the tip of Naruto's Zanpakuto, an orange orb radiated power and shot out, destroying the Junin completely and turning him to dust. He looked up to see his teammates looking at him with a mix of fear and wonder. Then, as the Hokage emerged from the tree line accompanied by some Anbu and Kurenai, they could all hear applause. Waving, Naruto approached the man who was paralyzed and sobbing because he thought he was going to die. Now you can either tell me why you suddenly attacked me and my teammates and who sent you, or we can share the ultimate pain together. W. We were sent by the civilian C. Council to kill you and the heirs. They said you were making them turn against the village to get your revenge. Please, I just turned Shunin and got engaged. Please, I'll do anything. You're pathetic. Begging for your life. I would have thought you had some backbone considering that you were going to kill the heirs to two of the most influential clans in the village. Good luck, you dumb fucking shithead. Team 8. Congratulations, you were official Genin of Konoha for taking down traitors to the Leaf. Thanks, old man. Now when did the fucking civvies get the balls to call for the deaths of two fucking clan heirs for fuck sake? Naruto, I had hoped you wouldn't pick up that habit of swearing that Yari-san has. Anyways, I heard your little speech about Reapers and I've got to say I've only seen one in the Third War. Though their Zanpakuto only changed shape and aura, so I'm wondering if there are different forms of Reapers. Fuck yeah, there are, but you should hear the history of the Reapers first. Though we should talk in a more secure area. I don't want random fuckers to overhear trade secrets, now do I? Also, I'm going to reseal my blade so the bitch-ass civvies don't spontaneously burst into flames. The holes grew smaller and filled back in as Naruto's Naginata gradually transformed back into a katana and the bones vanished. For a brief moment, his eye patch appeared to wiggle out from under his bone mask. The Hokage's workspace. Now Naruto, I want you to explain your abilities to me and your team now. I'm certain that everyone here can read lips. H. Hi H. Hokage. Sama. Logically, I found it useful to learn. Hi Hokage. Sama. Sarutobi was not at all surprised when Naruto gestured around the room. 5 Anbu emerged from the shadows with a snap of his fingers and vanished into a whirlwind of leaves. With a narrowed gaze, Naruto abruptly shimmered in place, his Zanpakuto emitting a tiny click as he removed his hand from it. 2 bodies with blank masks that read, "Nay," on their faces and Anbu uniforms appear out of nowhere. They could read the muted words by moving his lips. I think these people listening in aren't yours. The Anbu team reappeared with a chakra flare, gathering the bodies, and Naruto sat down in front of them all as they all followed suit. Thank you, Naruto, you seem to have discovered another breach in security. Now that we are once again alone, we shall begin. Yes, what I'm about to tell you is regarded by the Reapers as an S. Rank secret. I have limited permissions, so please don't talk about this. If you don't, I will have no choice but to destroy you and the person you told. You must first study some history, so pay attention, as this is the tale of a centuries old battle. There once was a war between the angelic and demonic lords that was far worse than the shinobi conflicts. In fact, Kami-sama herself had to step in because of the high death toll. Excluded from direct warfare, the lords and ladies chose to determine their supremacy through the selection of champions. Now, if the person you battled possessed a Shikai, he must have been a Reaper for an angelic lord. They are referred to as the angelic lord's soul reapers. I'm not familiar with all of their techniques, but I do know that they use Kido, Hakuda, and Zanjutsu among other things. Also referred to as ninjutsu, taijutsu, and kenjutsu, with the exception that ninjutsu differs slightly in that it requires incantations, though occasionally it is necessary. However, their Zanpakuto have 2 releases, referred to as Bankai and Shikai. I am now a Hollow Reaper because I am the Reaper of a demonic lord. As you have seen, the reason we are referred to as Hollow is that, in our resurrection form, our hearts are absent. We are given a single release and are given the ability to use techniques like Hollow Flash, which is essentially a faster version of Sero, and Bala, which is essentially a hollow bullet. Then there is Hiero, or Steel Skin, which is pretty self-explanatory, and Sonido, or Sound Ceremony, which is a fast technique. Then, Research or the Probe Circuit, is essentially a sensory method. It was difficult for anyone in the room to lift their jaws off the floor as they were all silently taking this in. Kurenai questioned whether she really needed to teach him, and the Hokage hoped Danzo wouldn't find out. Naruto, do you know where the other Reaper are or what they look like so I can warn my shinobi to avoid them? No, the person I knew passed away a while ago. Alright, thank you Naruto, and now Team 8 if you would please leave so I can do my paperwork. Next week. As Team 8 entered the mission hall, only one of the men appeared content with their heavily scraped appearance. Abruptly, a plump woman entered the room, snatching up the object of many men's dreams, a tiny brown cat named Tora, and crushing it to death in her arms. They were shocked when Naruto approached the fire daimyo's wife, took the cat, made a copy. Mi gesture, held the cat tenderly, and petted him before returning it. Following in Naruto's footsteps, the cat purred with satisfaction as he grinned and turned to face Hiruzen. The daimyo's wife then turned to walk away from him. Well, Naruto, you seem to have gained a favor from the daimyo of Fire Country. Just remember to use it wisely, as it isn't something to waste on a simple luxury. Now let's see what D ranks we have today. A cluster of beetles snatched up the D ranks before he could move and dropped them where the old man could not get to them. Hokage Sama, I would like to request a C rank mission for I believe we are ready. Do the rest of you agree with Shino? H. Hi. With a nod from Naruto, the elderly man let out a sigh, reached for a C rank, and took it out. Just as he was going to finish reading it, a Chunin burst through the door, whispering something in his ear. Then, with a brief bow and greeting, he briskly departed. Sarutobi cleared his throat and returned the mission to the pile. Team 8, I have just received word from Team 7 on an escort mission to Wave. They have just encountered Momochi Zabuza and A rank nuke Nin and one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Kakashi is currently out of it with chakra exhaustion and Momochi expected in a week. I suggest you hurry and reach their position in Wave Country. Unfortunately, Kurenai, you are needed elsewhere, so I have a replacement for you. Enter Midarashi Anko. A woman with a mesh bodysuit and a short burnt orange miniskirt walked in wearing a tan trench coat. Her purple hair was styled like a pineapple, her hazel eyes were pupilless, and she wore a small pendant of a snake's fang around her neck. Her attire was drawing attention to her womanly curves and making some of the room's male chunin uncomfortable. Hiruzen then cleared his throat to draw attention from the team. Well, now that you have your team, I want you to head out immediately. Kurenai, stay behind, would you? Alright brats, meet me at the east gate in 1 hour. Hi. East entrance. Alrighty, then let's go save the 3 brats and pervert, we're off to Wave. Anko. Sensei, I believe the logical way to Wave is the other direction. Good job, bug boy, you caught my test. Now let's go to Wave. Next day, Tazuna's residence. Everything is quiet in Tazuna's house. Kiba and Akamaru are napping, Sakura is staring at the melancholy prince, and Kakashi is reading the magical works of ICHA. ICHA. Zabuza burst through the door, yelling bloody murder at the family of the bridge builder and Team 7. As Team 7 went into defensive mode, Sakura passed out, Kakashi was immobile, and Sasuke and Kiba were down. Ha. Ha. Ha, oh my Kami, you guys are gullible. When Zabuza abruptly pissed off, Anko and Team 8 arrived in her wake. Naruto was trying not to chuckle at Team 7 when he glanced over at them and saw the girl's pink hair. His eyes expanded, and there was a tremendous pressure and ki in the room. He then roared and pulled out his Zanpakuto to attack her, but Anko blocked him with a kunai. She opened her mouth to scream at him, but then saw only uncontrollable pain and rage in his eyes. She caught him after giving him a swift chop to the neck, knocking him out completely. What was that about? I've never seen such rage in someone's eyes before. That brats were the eyes of someone going in an insane rage, going for revenge. Everyone that wants revenge eventually loses all sense of who they were before then. Even I want revenge, but I can live without it. It seems that either she or someone who had a trait of hers wronged him. Pink hair. What Shino? Naruto. San mouths those words every once in a while, so it's logical that someone or something with pink hair did something to him. Probably took his eye and tongue or gave him his scars. Everyone, aside from Sasuke, of course, cast sorrowful glances at Naruto until Sakura stirred and then sat up, looking alarmed. Even though some of them had dejected expressions, she felt at ease when she noticed that everyone was quiet. A sharp ki and a kunai to her neck, the cold steel barely brushing her skin, caused her to freeze. Listen here, girlie, that boy on the ground almost killed you in a fit of rage. With one look into his eyes, he only had revenge on his mind. Now our guess is that your pink hair set him off, so I would be careful since I won't be there to save you. Your precious Sasuke was useless and always be so against Naruto, and he won't save you anyways. Remember, if you had anything to do with his pain, I will kill you." Sakura merely nodded, and the key vanished and the kunai was no longer around her neck. After giving herself a neck rub, Sakura went upstairs to consider how she might have passed away there. As she left, Naruto became restless in his own sleep, slowly woke up, and took a quick look around before venturing outside to clear his head. He found a clearing and rode into the air by biting his thumb. Massacre, Jashin. He cut through it, drawing blood into his Zanpakuto as he did so. He changed into his resurrection form once more, condensing into a ball of energy with his fists and unleashing a barrage of punches. Hurling a few energy balls in brief bursts, interspersed with explosions. Then he used Sonido and channeled his modified demonic chakra to stand 50 yards below a boulder and launch a Sero at it, vaporizing the boulder completely. After following this regimen for a few hours, he eventually passed out, which turned off his resurrection form automatically. Later on in the evening, Anko was following the path of destruction while strolling through the woods in search of Naruto. When she found the hole in the ground, she whistled. Not even she knew of a jutsu capable of that. As she went, she saw Naruto unconscious next to a tree. Wanting to have a private conversation with him, she sat down next to him. Anko was waiting for him to wake up, looming over his head as he slowly woke up after a few minutes. With a start, he raised his head and forcefully struck Anko's cleavage, landing on the ground with a bump on his head. "So brat, you think that since we're alone you can just take advantage of little old me? I knew you were a masochist, but really, do you have a death wish?" Lifting his hand, Naruto gestured in several directions. "You're the one who covers my face with your tits when I'm trying to wake up, stupid ass. Oh, and here I was thinking you were suicidal. Alright, let me jump to the chase. Earlier today you almost killed a fellow Leaf Shinobi, so you either tell me why or I'll take you in for treason." After a while, Anko noticed blood and tears spilling onto the floor as Naruto sat with his head down. As he thought about telling her, she noticed he was weeping blood from his missing eye. Before he could finish, Anko snapped her arm out, picked it up with her finger, and sucked on it. He sighed, whipped his eyes, and enjoyed the blood off his arm. Nice tasting blood. In fact, it's a bit bitter, then it leaves a sweet aftertaste. Your blood is probably the best I've tasted, maybe I'll come back for more. With a tiny smile, Naruto raised his hand and asked whether she could read lips with a sign. Naruto put his hand down as Anko nodded and grinned a little. "I was beaten and pursued in an alleyway when I was 5 years old. That alleyway gave me the wounds I now wear, and it was that changed my life." Using a dull and rusted butter knife, the mob's leader, who had pink hair, carved the kanji. "I asked the Hokage about Jashin Sama in the hospital after that, and he helped me find Yari Sensei to train and convert me. Since then, I've shown off my wounds to demonstrate that I always overcome obstacles to become stronger than I was before. In addition, it looks nice and helps that I don't rip my clothes with my jutsu." "Wait, Yari Sensei as in Yari, the new interrogator and executioner at T&I? He's like one of our best guys there." "Yes, to me, he is more like an uncle than anything else. In actuality, Jashin Sama designated him as my personal bodyguard." "Wow, Naruto Kun, you seem to have finally gotten a good life in Konoha." Anko's eyes grew wide as she wondered where the entire Kun thing originated. "I usually tell people that my dreams are to find a certain person to restore my tongue and become Hokage, but it's still pretty lonely. It's true for the most part, but if I could find someone to love and have them love me back, I would give those things up." Anko's eyes grew even wider as she began to consider the previous events and realized that she would follow suit. In silence, they pondered the day's events as they made their way back to Tazuna's house. Not only was the bridge taking a long time to complete, but people were leaving to protect their families, which made matters worse. Nevertheless, the remaining laborers persisted in their mission to unseat Gado's authority over the nation, working hard and without complaint. Knowing that Zabuza could strike without warning and attack at any time was making Kakashi nervous. As a result, he made his team practice tree climbing, an exercise for which he received a stern lecture from Anko for failing to teach them before the mission, and had Team 8 practice walking on water while she ate dango and hurled sharp sticks at them. Unexpectedly, Naruto just smiled and allowed them to strike him. When the first one pierced his heart, Kakashi, who was watching, almost passed out, but then Naruto laughed and yelled about a teacher who wasn't scared to hurt him. Everyone was seated at the table for dinner later that evening. Sakura was trying not to agitate Naruto and possibly end her life, but he was glaring at her as usual. The others were chatting and having a good time until they noticed that Naruto had stopped staring at Sakura and turned to face the stairs, where a small boy who was identified as Inari by everyone came to eat. Why? Why do you even try? Do you think you're heroes that are going to save the day? Well, there are no such thing as heroes. Gato will just kill you all. I bet you don't know what it's like to suffer in your big fancy village where you sit safely, Inari said, putting an end to their pleasant conversation and jokes. Evidently, Naruto was wrong to say this because as soon as he stood up, an odd pressure entered the room, crushing everyone. The response from Team 7 was essentially in line with their ideas. This is worse than Zabuza's attack, damn it. Naruto turned to face Kakashi and whispered something to him. With a look that seemed to ask, "Are you sure?" Naruto nodded, and Kakashi sighed before turning to face Inari. Now what I'm going to tell you is one of the village's greatest shame. Naruto is a pariah in Konoha for reasons that are unlawful to speak of without certain people's permission. As a result, Naruto was forced to live in the slums with all of the low-life thugs, gangs, brothels, and drug dealers. Not just that, but suffered through outrageous prices for rotten and ruined goods such as food, appliances, furniture, and an apartment building that was about to be condemned. His first year at the academy was a complete waste of time as they taught him nothing and left him in the hallway. Then there were the beatings. It was heard that the last successful beating took his eye, tongue, and the leader of the mob gave him those scars with a rusted and dull butter knife. When Inari could take it no more, he ran up to his room and started crying again. This disproved Sasuke's belief that he was in worse shape than anyone else, which shocked him. As Sakura was shocked and hoped it wasn't her father leading this mob, he did what he does best and brooded. While Shino was weeping silently, Kiba and Akamaru were trying not to cry. Unexpectedly, Hinata handled it the best. With a smile, Anko spoke what was likely the greatest thing that had ever occurred to Naruto. Naruto laughed heartily, then choked back a laugh. Well, don't worry too much as we caught some of them and carved them up nice and pretty with scars just like Naruto. We later found them dead from suicide in their cells when we were going to release them. Abruptly, he stood up, kissed Anko on the lips, and bounded out the door, beaming. Leaving a startled Anko, a few stunned genin, and a chuckled Kakashi behind. Anko got up and headed to her room to try and make sense of what had happened. With a sly smile, Kakashi spoke up before disappearing. Kakashi had to duck or wear his headband over both eyes when Anko threw a kunai at his eye, asking, "Not going to go make out with your boyfriend, Anko?" As Anko moved away, he heard Kakashi laughing. With a sigh, she settled into her bedroll and leaned against the wall. She had vowed not to pursue a love life out of fear that him would return and take it away from her, but she didn't know what to think of Naruto. She simply didn't know what to do, and she won't ask for help until she does. Return to Konoha. In all of his years as a general shinobi and in combat, Hiruzen has never seen anything as repulsive as the three in front of him. He was fairly certain that paperwork was preferable to these three idiots who constantly seek to subvert his authority. The three with the most twisted, backwards, and ridiculous ideas about what it means to have peace and how to keep it are Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo. They were aiming for the antiquated, despotic theory that might makes right, which isn't always applicable. Not to mention that Danzo's support of Naruto was grating and that he intended to turn all shinobi into emotionless drones. At the moment, they were seated in front of him at the TI department, Yari smiling foolishly behind them as he sharpened some jagged daggers. With a sigh, the elderly Hokage recalled how much older he is in relation to his profession. Though it was time to brutally question some teammates who thought they could order attacks on clan heirs, he mentally noted that he should review all potential candidates. However, that is a problem for another time. He nodded silently to Yari, and as if that weren't enough, his smile widened. He then took an empty syringe that had a needle in it and jammed it into a blood vein in a man who had been given a death sentence by Yari for the rape and killing of 212. Year. Old girls and 5'8". Year. Old boys. He was told he was even more sadistic than the fabled Morino Ibiki, so the man sat there in silence, waiting for the pain that would undoubtedly come. After cutting his arm and using his foot to spread the blood, Yari filled a wineglass to the brim with the syringe, symbolizing his faith. A tiny line of blood trickled down his chin as he finished it, and he held it up as though to toast the Hokage before slowly drinking it down to impress his victims. His skin turned black, and a white outline of his bones showed. The silence was finally broken when Yari made his intentions known, henceforth referred to as Jashin mode. Alright, you 3 bags of bones, I'm going to use pedophile. Teme over as a demonstration of what will happen to you if you don't be good and listen to the Hokage and do exactly as he says. We've been waiting for weeks to get you in here with me, so I hope you're stubborn, that way we can share the painful ecstasy that will envelope us. Now pedo. Teme prepared to feel the ultimate pain with me. After saying a brief speech, he produced a rather ugly looking corkscrew with teeth that were serrated all the way around the blade. The criminal braced himself as best he could, thinking he would get it used on him. To his surprise, however, Yari's left thigh was struck by the corkscrew, causing him to scream in excruciating pain. Yari appeared to be enjoying himself when the screaming subsided into a whimper, as if he wasn't even aware of the corkscrew in his leg. He then turned to face the pedophile and smiled, slowly twisting the corkscrew into his leg, which caused the man to start screaming even louder. The Jashinist's display of sadistic, masochistic pleasure was making Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo pale. According to the look on his face and the stain on his pants, said Jashinist appeared to be experiencing an orgasm Sarutobi. Returning in wave. Naruto was very happy that he didn't have to find all of the assholes who had attacked him years before. The sight of a brothel and the men dragging a few women in chains into the building's back slightly sapped his good mood. So he made the decision to take a soothing bath in blood, having dispatched those abhorrent idiots. As he followed the thugs into the back of the less than upscale establishment, he sensed that the Kyuubi and Jashin Sama agreed with him. As he walked in, he noticed that there were numerous cages full of women, some with glass around them and slit wrists, and others dressed in rags that hardly afforded them any modesty at all. He bit his thumb and wrote the release command as soon as he realized he was angry. Carnage. Jashin. Sen. He lowered his blade, drank the blood, and then his resurrection form materialized. Using his weapon, he broke the locks on the chains and cages, giving the women a tiny smile. Go home to your family and friends and don't look back until this place is nothing more than ashes on the street. The women fled without looking for an answer as he went to the main room, pulled on one tail of power, released all of his ki, and applied all of his demonic pressure. He witnessed the abhorrent sight of the men raping every woman in the room while she was restrained. He opened his mouth to say something, and everyone in the room turned to face him. The thugs were scared because Naruto's power suggested he could do it without trying. You all make me sick, and not only that, but I'm a devoted follower of Jashin Sama, the demonic lord of brutality and slaughter. Add that to the fact that I have the Kyuubi sealed inside of me, and right now both are telling me to leave nothing but puddles of blood in my wake. But I'm willing to make a deal. You let all of the women go and bring me to Gato, I will let one of you live. Just untie the girls and have a brawl to the death until the last one standing, and I'll let that man live as long as he takes me to Gato. He threw a kunai at all 30 of the males and settled down, remaining potent. As the last woman was freed and the women departed, the men hurried to free the women, and they then turned on one another. When the men died, they were all that remained. The two were fighting side by side, eliminating anyone who stood in their way. After exchanging glances and a brief conversation, the slightly older one pressed his kunai into his own heart. After a while, the man stood and waited for Naruto, his tears wiping away the bloodstains on his face as the younger one called out for his brother. My lord, I'm all that is left, what are your orders? Naruto said, follow me as I finish things up upstairs. After climbing the stairs, he found himself in a large office where a 14-year-old girl was chained to the desk. With a gentle whisper that the thug didn't anticipate coming from the mean little girl, Naruto addressed the young girl. Hey, what's your name? My name is whatever you wanted to be, master. Come on, you must have a name of some sort. You can call me bitch, slut, whore, slave, toy, and whatever else you desire, master. Where do you live? Right here, master. I'm sorry then. Naruto stabbed her in the heart to end her life quickly and painlessly after saying those words. Then he called the thug to follow him, picking her up in the bridal style. Naruto turned around, bit his thumb, and created a big Sero as they approached the building, which was roughly 500 feet away. Gran Rey Sero. The explosion erupted, a sight for miles around. It persisted for 10 seconds before abating, and by then, nothing could be seen in the direction of the building, and the sea behind it appeared to have transformed into a dense mist that appeared to be blood red due to the early morning light. He strolled towards the town center, putting the girl to sleep and shutting her eyes. Now take me to Gado's base so I can kill the man myself. In Tazuna's residence. Kakashi's orders left no room for debate as everyone had their combat gear assembled and ready to go. Remember, Zabuza and his accomplice could be attacking today, so be on guard at all times. Sakura and Hinata, I want you two to stay here in case Gado sends some thugs to take hostages. Hey, where's the religious freak, or did he run off scared? That wouldn't be logical, as out of all the genin of our graduating class he is the only one that has killed before Sasuke. Not only that, but we've seen him literally get his head chopped off in a training accident and his head was still laughing. While his body changed into his release form and picked his head up and used his secondary chakra to seal his neck together. Like that freak could do that, no one can go without their head, it's impossible. In the middle of the planet Earth. Hidan, you fool, you just had to go after the Gobi like an idiot, didn't you? A pair of men wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them were having an argument when the man with the mask and the green and black eyes picked up a silver-haired head. Fuck off, Kakuzu, I didn't see you help me at all when he used that fucking statue's axe. Then, as the head was screaming about how much the treatment hurt, he picked up the body and stitched the head back on using black tendrils that were coming from his fingers. Tazuna's residence. Hinata intervened to try to resolve the conflict as best she could. As she was saying, actually Naruto. San is probably B. Blowing something you. Up right N. Now. A big explosion was visible on the other side of the small island, causing everyone to start to perspire except for Shino and Hinata, who just nodded as though the argument had ended. The always inquisitive Anko remarked, wow, he doesn't play around, does he? Everyone gave Shino varying degrees of WTF looks, but Anko oddly looked kind of turned on. Actually, by my logic, he was probably pissed off at something to make a large explosion like this. As all of the others, they were only viewable for at least 2 seconds. Tazuna signaled the shinobi by clearing his throat. May we proceed to the bridge since each minute counts toward building the bridge? The shinobi asked, nodding, and the group quietly made their way to the bridge. Upon reaching the bridge, they saw a dense fog and bodies, dead, dying, unconscious, or injured, lying on the ground. Running toward a man who was limping away from the bridge was Tazuna. W. What happened here? A.D. Demon attacked. Following that, he fell to Tazuna's feet in an indecent heap. Amidst the mist, Kakashi and Anko were tense as they heard laughter. A little bit of the mist lifted, revealing 2 figures standing at the end of the bridge. The taller one wore black shinobi sandals, blue camo slacks, and white and blue camo arm warmers. He was shirtless. His short, spiky brown hair was covered in bandages that resembled Kakashi's mask, and his kiri headband was slanted and angled to the side. I felt that the big Zanbato on his back was the most striking characteristic. Beside him stood a boy whose black hair was pulled back into a cloth bun, and whose face was hidden behind a Kiri Hunter ninja mask. Beside the swordsman, he stood silent and composed in his battle kimono and shinobi sandals. Thus, the legendary Sharingan no Hitaki Kakashi was forced to summon the Snake Mistress, and it appears that you also swapped out one of your brats for an Aburame. Duck Butt should have been replaced as well because he's still trembling from some ki. That would be a deadly error. 6 water clones of Zabuza suddenly surrounded them. Sasuke moved, forcing chakra to his feet, and destroyed the clones. I'm trembling. Kiba made the decision to speak up and laugh triumphantly. Ha, I got it. The Uchiha is gay and gets happy when he sees Zabuza. Sasuke's eyebrow was twitching as Kiba laughed before Sasuke turned to him and flicked his nose with a glare. Kiba glared back before his eyes widened, then he threw the Uchiha to the floor and turned while throwing up his right arm. A second later his arm and shoulder had 5 senbon in them while Kiba only gave a grunt of pain. He suddenly called out, shocking the genin and Tazuna with his response. What the hell did you do to my arm? It feels like lead. A calm voice called out to the Konohanin, who were forced to split up with the genin going one way and the junin going the other as a barrage of senbon fell upon them. The genin were surrounded by a dome of mirrors of what appeared to be ice. Kakashi's eye narrowed and pulled the senbon out of Kiba's arm, muttering to him to massage the arm a bit as the nerves were tightened. The image of the fake hunter Nin entered all of the mirrors, each brandishing a senbon between their knuckles, saying, "Your fates have been sealed as for the moment you entered the dome escape is impossible. If you would be so kind as to tell me the names of my opponents." Uchiha Sasuke. Aburame Shino. Kiba. Sasuke and Shino narrowed their eyes, then they noticed the lack of a small white puppy by the name of Akamaru. Instantly realizing his plan, Sasuke and Shino got into defensive positions back to back with Kiba. Shino noticed that Kiba's hands seemed to be wooden, then he noticed the slight movement in his coat, then gave a tiny smirk. That is. If anyone could see it. Slowly Kiba's features became slightly more feral as he activated his jutsu. Uchiha, toss a pill to my mouth, my arms still feel heavy. Nodding as he remembered this plan was suggested by Kakashi Sensei back in Konoha a few weeks ago. He pulled a soldier pill from a pouch and threw it to Kiba's mouth but missed and it rolled away into the mist. He then threw another one and this time it reached his mouth and Kiba felt a boost on his energy and chakra. Kiba whispered to Sasuke and Shino so as not to give up their plan. "I need you guys to bid me some time. Uchiha, start with your fire and see if you can melt the ice. Use your beetles, Shino, too. I dunno what your beetles can do." As soon as this question was posed, the other two genin started to perspire. "My Kikachu beetles have the ability to devour chakra and even swarm and consume an individual's flesh." The three nodded in agreement, and then Sasuke went through a few hand seals before calling out. Eventually, logically, after Sasuke San finishes trying to melt the mirrors, my beetles would drain the chakra out of them to make sure they stay out. Excellent fireball jutsu in the fire style. Then, as the fire subsided, a swarm of beetles clung to the mirrors and drained the chakra, forcing the nin to release the jutsu to preserve his chakra. The nin had gone through a few seals of his own and called out a jutsu. He then launched a large stream of fire, slightly melting the mirrors. Water style. 1,000 lethal needles. Then, just as the name implied, 1,000 of water needles appeared and hit the Uchiha and Aburame, knocking them both unconscious. He looked over to Kiba and saw him smirking, confusing the hunter Nin greatly. "Why are you smirking? Are you not afraid to die? You stayed back, and it was obvious that they were the fighters and not you. Furthermore, you lack the clan techniques that they had as a backup." You are incorrect there. My full name is Inuzuka Kiba. Furthermore, you don't seem to understand that Inuzukas never have to be alone because they can always rely on their dog companions. Come on, Akamaru. Fang passing Fang. Then he leapt up and rotated and turned into a giant drill. Then the nin noticed one just like it, then realized what had happened, then got hit with the technique, breaking 4 ribs, his left arm, and fracturing his hip bone. Then he heard the chirping of birds and his eyes widened. Suddenly Kiba's jacket fell off to reveal wooden arms in the sleeves and his hinds in a seal. Zabuza. Sama. Previously, with the Junin. I would advise you to worry about yourself before your genin. When the genin moved away from their location, the Junin became worried, and Kakashi revealed his Sharingan until they were forced to relocate or risk being split in half by a large Zanbato. Zabuza's harsh voice came from all directions to keep the Konoha nin guessing where he was. Then, he slashed down at Anko, cutting his calves and wrapping a leg around his sword handle and arm. With his blade down, Kakashi entered and stabbed Zabuza's arms, rendering them useless. Anko then unwrapped her silk and slashed Zabuza's legs, cutting his calves, only for Zabuza to turn into water. Clone water. Kakashi is in your rear. A shout was heard behind Kakashi, who instantly leapt back to avoid a water blast. Water Dragon Jutsu is the style. A massive dragon materialized out of the mist, threatening Kakashi, but it struck a log instead. Zabuza was dumbfounded, thinking, what the hell? Where the fuck did you get the log? Surrounded by a fucking body of water. Never question the log's strength. For if one believes, the log will come. Came the most serious voice anyone has ever heard from Kakashi. Zabuza only had a WTF look, wondering what the hell happened. Then he found himself wrapped up by a large snake that quickly crushed Zabuza, but only got water. The summons dismissed itself while a fireball was seen in the distance. Then Kakashi jumped back only to get cut across the side. A silence took the bridge, then Kakashi whipped out a scroll from his vest, slitting some blood from his wound, and did a few hand signs. Summoning Jutsu. Earth style, Fanged Pursuit. The mist gradually cleared to show Zabuza being restrained by dogs, with blood running down his arm to confirm that he is who he claimed to be. "Well, Zabuza, that was entertaining, but I should really wrap this up," he said. "Thank you for all the thousands of techniques I have learned or copied. Lightning style, lightning blade. This is my only original jutsu," he said, going through a few hand signals as lightning engulfed his hand. With the intention of defeating Zabuza, he charged at him. Prior to Naruto. Naruto and his guide finally arrived at Gado's mansion when Naruto reached up and snapped the man's neck. Then using the pressure from his chakra alone crushed the gates and walked through. He slowly but surely strode through the mansion, killing thugs and freeing slaves on his way. Finally, after half an hour of walking, he made it to Gado's office. He kicked down the door and saw the midget sitting behind a large desk in a fluffy chair while his personal guards were standing behind him. Naruto grinned at Gado, who was trembling, unable to speak from the pressure in the room. One of his guards stabbed himself with his sword to get away. Naruto swung his naginata and the spearhead swung out with the chain, cutting the mon's head off while wrapping around Gado. He yanked on the pole, forcing Gado over the desk when he found himself impaled on Naruto's retractable spear. He pulled the mon's head close and whispered into his ear. "In my life I have been beaten and tortured, and I've even become a follower of a demon lord Jashin Sama. But in all of those situations, I have never been more repulsed than I am by you." With a shocked and terrified expression on his face, Gado passed away, and Naruto just pulled him along with his chain as he leapt out of a window tree and crossed to the bridge. This fight is over as Gado has died, and therefore they no longer have to kill the bridge builder. Using Sonito, he vanished in the sound of static and a slight booming noise, grabbing Kakashi's wrist before he impaled anyone. Normally, the scene he arrived would be good as the missing nin and his apprentice were both beaten, but this wasn't necessary. Naruto hefted his weapon, and Gado landed between him and Kakashi. Zabuza smirked at the expression on Gado's face, clearly pleased with the outcome, until a scream of pain flew out on the bridge, widening his eyes in shock. Haku. Immediately the mist cleared, revealing Sasuke standing over a dead hunter nin with a bloody kunai, only to be struck in the face by Kiba and swarmed by beetles when they left, knocking him unconscious. The summoned dogs dismissed themselves, realizing the fight was over, and Zabuza ran over to Haku's body. Zabuza was about to attack Naruto for tampering with Haku's body when Shino put his hand on his shoulder and said, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Naruto deactivated his Resurrection form while he walked over to Zabuza and Haku. He silently cut his hand and drew Jashin's emblem on the bridge around Haku's body and then around himself. Then he drew 3 lines connecting the symbols, then collected Haku's blood and drew 3 more lines going across the first 3. He laid down and started the ritual, since it would be illogical to disturb Naruto while he performs his ritual. He nearly killed the Hokage for upsetting him, but that's not something to be concerned about. Was that Haku-san? In contrast to his custom of offering someone's soul as a sacrifice to the demonic lord Jashin, in this ritual he asks Jashin to direct the soul to Kami for judgment. He'll be granted paradise and reunited with loved ones if everything works out. For the first time since he massacred that academy class, Zabuza sobbed as he merely nodded and whispered his last words to Haku. It began to snow as he sobbed, giving the impression that Haku was consoling Zabuza as he gradually stopped sobbing. Kakashi cast a sidelong, curious glance Shino's way. "So how long does this ritual take place?" "About 8 hours long, since Jashin has to escort the soul to Kami. Usually if it's just Jashin judging souls, the ritual would take 12 hours. This is one of the few drawbacks to this whole religion." Kakashi sighed and moved over to Anko and said, "Do you want to stand guard over Naruto until he finishes up?" "Yeah, sure, you guys go rest up, I'll stay behind." "Alright. Shino, Kiba. Go tie up Sasuke and bring him to the house, but don't let him out of your sight." After 3 days. Now that the bridge was finished, the Konoha nin could return home. However, they are accompanied by an additional nin who is going to approach the Hokage about a job. Waving goodbye to the Konoha shinobi as they hopped trees to return to their home village, Inari broke down in tears. While Zabuza was glaring at Sasuke, who was wearing a smug smirk and believed he had a right to kill the enemy, Naruto was glaring at Sakura the entire time. When they returned, Anko wondered if Naruto wanted to go out and drink, and Kakashi was reading his Icha Icha in a miraculous way. After several hours, they finally arrived in Konoha, and as they were about to enter the Hokage's office, Zabuza was surrounded by a full Anbu squad. The lazy drawl of Kakashi said, "Ma, you don't need to attack the man, he's in grieving and wants to join the ranks." This made the Anbu relaxed until one of them suddenly pulled a Tonto and chopped off Naruto's head, leaving the Genin, aside from Hinata and Shino, shocked and forcing the Junin to restrain the man. But when Naruto's headless body bent over and placed his head on his neck, his finger glowing red, everyone froze. He then used that to seal his neck in place. With a smile, he waved the man's Junin and Anbu away and helped him stand up. Then startled everyone by giving the man, whom he hadn't seen in months, a hug as if he were family. Then he retreated and removed the Anbu's mask, exposing a smiling Yari. The exchange between the two Jashinists left everyone in the room either sweating profusely or looking shocked. "Well damn Gaki, I think you're losing you edge. Therefore your punishment is to go down to T and I and have Ibiki and his apprentice practice their new torture techniques on you. Then when your shit has been fucked up and you're missing body parts, you'll have to train with those fuckheads Guy and Lee for 24 hours straight." The Hokage was patiently waiting when they heard a cough coming from behind the desk. Hitaki report. The cloud over Zabuza's head darkened at the mention of the Hunter Nin. "Yes, well, we were on our way when we were attacked by the Demon Brothers, where my team decided to continue the mission. Then we encountered Momochi Zabuza, where we engaged only for him to be rescued by a fake Hunter Nin. Then I sent a message for backup since Zabuza is a powerful man. From there Anko and Squad 8 came in and there was a little drama between Sakura and Naruto. Then Naruto went for a walk while the next morning we headed to the bridge when Zabuza and his apprentice attacked. Naruto prevented me killing Zabuza, then provided Gato's dead body. A few minutes later Sasuke killed a Zabuza's accomplice for no reason other than his own foolish pride. So I recommend a session with Ibiki for Sasuke as well. Very well, Anbu escort Uchiha Sasuke to Ibiki and let him know that pride needs to be forgotten in the field. Yes, Hokage. Sama. An Anbu member seized Sasuke before vanishing amidst a flurry of foliage. Now then, I managed to hear Momochi Zabuza wishes to become a Konoha shinobi. Very well, but you must also go to Ibiki for a debriefing and a 3-month probationary period. Also, if a man named Danzo approaches you, do not accept anything from him and kill any shinobi with blank masks with a "nay" symbol on it. Now everyone is dismissed except Naruto. Naruto quietly walked out of the office. Okay, apologies. Waited for whatever was going to happen while standing there. When everyone had finally gone, Sarutobi took out a pipe, lit it, and took a big drag. I have gotten reports that Tsunade has been spotted heading to Tanzuka town. She'll be there sometime after the Chunin exams, and I was wondering if you would want to go find her and try to get your speech back and possibly convince her to come back to Konoha. Abruptly, in a rare display of his 12 years old, Naruto gave the elderly man a hug. The boy was crying a little from his one eye, and the older man gave him a hug in return, understanding how important this was to the boy. Hiruzen was secretly relieved to have a break from paperwork. After a while, Naruto released his grip, grinned at the elderly Hokage, and departed the office. Only for him to stroll straight into Yari, who grinned at Naruto. Now you didn't think I was fucking joking earlier, did you? Well, you were wrong. Now let's get going. Come on, hustle, you dumb shit. Ground Training 8. Right now, we find our favorite cultist and his group waiting for their strangely tardy sensei at their training grounds. When Naruto caught a rabbit and began dismembering it, Hinata started to feel faint and Shino started to feel a little queasy, indicating that he was becoming restless. She wondered if all Jashinists were like this when their sensei Kurenai entered the room. Country of Snow. Achoo. Someone must have talking of my fucking awesomeness. Hidan, I don't think anyone thinks you could be awesome. Now stop cutting up the rabbit and let's go. Fuck no, Kakuzu. Kakuzu, you do realize there is a fucking cock in your name. Ha ha ha. Hidan was laughing so much that he lost control of the bunny he was dismembering. Nor did he notice the tendrils drawing near until they stabbed him 10 times through his torso. Fuck you, cock. Uzu, you dumb motherfucker. Within the T and I division. Achoo. Fucking damn it, right in the rabbit. Now I got to find a different fucking rabbit to cut up. Yari, you're kind of freaking some of the new recruits out. Sorry, your royal fucking highness. I got bored so I needed something to cut up, and those old fuckers from the council were released yesterday. Resuming with Team 8. Kurenai held out 3 slips of paper and said, "Hello team, sorry I'm late but I had to get you these." Shino and Naruto took them. Shino. "Kun, could you wake Hinata Chan up for me?" Shino approached Hinata and gave her a gentle shake, causing her to stretch and stand up. However, when they faced each other, Shino made her blush until he moved away. "Hinata Chan, come here and take a slip. Now these are for the Chunin exams and are optional, so if you don't think you are ready, don't feel ashamed. That only means you have to work harder for the next ones." Naruto gestured with his hand. "Yes, Naruto. Kun, there will be fights to the death in the second test, so don't worry." Kurenai. "Sensei, I was wondering what kind of tests are there?" "I'm sorry, Shino. Kun, I'm not allowed to talk about the test, but I can tell you the proctors. For the first test is Morino Ibiki, the head of T&I. Then it's Mitarashi Anko for the second exam, who is also second in command in the T&I. For the third exam, Gekko Hayate Konoha's greatest swordsman, though his disease is a bit troubling for him. Alright, you guys have today off to train on your own and think on if you want to go dismissed." After the 3 genin left, Naruto made the decision to go see if he could get into some more shit with some of the other rookies. He stalked into the village through the trees, grinning menacingly. When he finally discovered Team 7, he stopped smiling at Sakura, but it returned when a child made fun of her forehead. To make sure the child survived, she began chasing after it with Kiba in tow. The child eventually ran into a teenager donning a purple face paint job, a black theater suit, and a black hood with cat ears. "Alright, people, I kind of feel like the whole makeup thing is overdone." He had a Suna headband on and a big bandage bundle on his back, which made Naruto smile, even though he knew it was a puppet likely loaded with poison and sharp objects. A blonde girl with 4 pigtails, wearing a battle dress and fishnet leggings, and a Suna headband around her neck appeared slightly behind him. She had a huge battle fan on her back. He turned to face a tree and saw Sasuke there, along with a red-haired child who had a red tattoo on his forehead that read, "Love," in kanji. He had a gourd strapped to his back, his Suna headband resting on the leather strap that held the gourd, and he was dressed in dark clothes. "You are aware of their appearance. Hey kid, watch where you're going. I guess I'll have to teach you a lesson, don't I? Hey, it was an accident and it was my fault, really. Shut up, Pinky, I wasn't talking to you." Just as he was ready to strike the child, he felt a sword at his throat. The teenager was more afraid of the man with the sword, though. The child was forced to drop Naruto when his lone blue eye moved to him. The young man in black pulled away from his blonde teammate, causing her to laugh at him. "Are you really scared of this guy? Sometimes you really are pathetic, Konkuro." He handed Temari a small black book with a page marked inside. "B. But Temari, he's that guy the first was telling you about. Naruto the hollow swordsman. Here, look in this bingo book." Naruto's jaw continued to drop as she studied it, to the point where she thought it might fall out. With a gesture of giving the book to Temari, Naruto said, "There is no way he could survive that, no one could." She silently gave it to him while cautiously glancing at him. Naruto turned to the designated page in the book and grinned ferociously. Name: The Hollow Swordsman, Uzumaki Naruto. Affiliation: Konoha's Genin, a devotee of the cult god Jashin. Class: A. Affinities: Not specified. Capabilities: Expert in Kenjutsu and employs specific jutsu. No other details are available. Outward appearance: 1 blue eye and blonde hair spiking. An eye patch and a scar reading demon covered the left eye. Each cheek has 3 red whisker marks, but there is no tongue. Along with the scar reading Kitsune on his right pectoral and 9 on his left arm, he also has slash and stab wounds all over his torso. He is dressed in a black haori with the sleeves cut off, and on his back is a white diamond shape with the white kanji for 9 inside. He is both holding his sword and keeping his haori closed at the waist with an orange sash. He is wearing black steel toed boots and cargo pants, and he has a kunai holster on each thigh. Notably, he has survived heart stabs and having his head chopped off. Rumored to be able to change into a stronger version of himself using his sword. Examining the date, Naruto saw that it had been entered only a few days prior. Naruto threw the book back and was about to walk away when the red-headed child descended from the tree. "I wonder who entered this into the book," he said. Naruto asked the boy, "What's your name?" as he opened his mouth to reveal his missing tongue. When he saw this, Kankuro made the decision to inform him before killing someone. Gaara, his name is Uzumaki Naruto. What happened next scared the two older Sunan in half mad. Uzumaki Naruto. You interest me. Gaara was given the finger by Naruto, but the genin tore it off with his sand. To her surprise, Naruto lifted his finger and gave Gaara a dog-like nose flick. Repositioning his finger, he applied Kyuubi's chakra to heal his hand. He then headed off to the Hokage Tower in search of information regarding the bingo book. Tower of Hokage. Shaking his head, Naruto entered the Hokages through the window and asked, "Do you need something, Naruto-kun?" He also raised his hand and gestured. "Bingo book?" Hiruzen's eyes narrowed at the mention of it. The desk was connected to the secretary's desk by a seal, which he placed his hand on. In less than 10 seconds, an unremarkable Chunin entered the room carrying a book, gave it to the Hokage, and then departed. "Hito. Just a filler OC, would you bring me a new bingo book?" The elderly man squinted as he opened the book to that page. "You do realize the council will probably demand you give your power to Sasuke-kun, right?" Naruto sighed with a nod and was about to leave when he turned and walked over to a chair and sat down. "Something the matter, Naruto?" All he received in return was a finger pointing toward the door, and then Hito entered as if by magic as the door opened. "Hokage. Sama, there has been a request for you and Naruto-san to come to the council chambers." "Thank you, Hito, you may go now." "Right away, Hokage. Sama. For now, let's go ahead and make fun of the council." It took them a few minutes to get to the chambers, and when they did, the room was silent. Naruto's grin grew wider when he saw a certain pink-haired man among the civilians who had a smug smirk. An extremely tired-looking Danzo stood up to address the council. "Oh, and please, if a civilian council member pisses you off more than anything, go ahead and kill him, but only one." Hiruzen wondered if he should have said that. "We can start now that everyone is present. We've heard rumors, Uzumaki Naruto, that you belong to the Jashinist cult and that your power comes from religion. Please provide us with a demonstration," Naruto asked. The Hokage just grinned and nodded. Naruto then carefully removed his Zanpakuto, causing the sound of the blade striking the sheath to resound throughout the room. Naruto then bit his thumb and wrote the command, "Massacre Jashin Sama." After writing it down, he brought his blade down, absorbing the blood, and entered Jashin mode, pushing the civilians down with the chakra he was emitting while the clan heads cursed. Naruto then grinned and startled at the group. "And now that I can talk, I just want you dipshits to pay attention to the transgressions of this particular fucktard in this room. I was being chased down by a group of asshole civilians when I was 5 years old, and maybe some bitch-ass shinobi as well. This was normal, but the consequences were not. At that moment, they took my tongue and fucked eye, leaving me with these scars. That was the day I made the decision to join my brothers and sisters in the glorious worship of Jashin Sama because the pain was unbearably excruciating. The head of the aforementioned mob is in this very room," he said, causing the clan heads to become disgusted and even the king of stoicism, Aburame Shibi, to become enraged. The pressure in the room then shifted and moved toward one pink-haired Haruno. There was a loud noise followed by some static, and Naruto vanished and reappeared behind the man in pink, only for his head to explode, causing Naruto to laugh heartily. "Alright, Naruto-kun, could you stop scaring the civilians?" "I apologize, old man, you couldn't help it. That was 7 years overdue," Kaharu said, deciding it was time for them to move on. "May we now discuss the actual reason this meeting was called? We noticed your bingo book entry and would like you to grant Uchiha Sasuke the ability to become a Jashinist in order to reassure him that we are assisting him in reaching his objective and to decrease the likelihood that he will depart." "Oh, you old bag of bones, fuck that shit," he said, ignoring the outcries of the civilized. "As much as I would love to give Jashin Sama another follower, the fucker won't be able to do it. Jashin Sama will only accept those who are willing to give up their goals if he commands it." The Uchiha jerk most likely wouldn't, because my lord rewards his subjects who assist him. When I went through the religion section of the bookstore one day, I saw a man going through a book on cults, and inside I found an entry on Jashinism. This is how Uchiha Itachi, one of my former Anbu guards, indirectly introduced me to Jashin. Sama. Uchiha Itachi is on the list of people who should not be killed or gravely injured. Danzo got to his feet, but if he attacks us, we can defend ourselves. Then teach the boy your techniques. You can suck a cock, you fuckhead, but hell fucking no. That annoys you that I can't be forced to do anything, doesn't it? Furthermore, there's the fact that you cannot coerce me into doing anything. Well, what about your group? Danzo disregarded the looks he received from the other clan heads, Shibi, Hiyashi, and the Hokage. Now that you've publicly threatened to harm clan heirs, you wouldn't risk it because it would be easy to link you to any attacks. It's not worth it to hire outside assistance because Kurenai-sensei is a Junin and can identify hired assistants easily. Not to mention that I've been learning from Anko and Yari Sensei about torture and interrogation techniques. But Anko, what about him? Not many would miss the student of a traitor's absence, Naruto thought to himself as the pressure returned, along with an insane amount of ki all bearing down on Danzo while the civilians fainted and the clan heads were fighting for their lives. It's unbelievable that the boy can do this to the clan heads and not even aim it at them. So much power and potential. Hiruzen, he will be mine. Then, he felt a pull on his mind and chakra, exactly like Kakashi's left eye, and he did something unexpected. He laughed. Ha ha ha, you think you can manipulate me with that malfunctioning implant? If you believe that genjutsu, even from that damned Mangekyo Sharingan 3 times over, can affect me, then you truly are an old fucking fool. Show off to everyone, Danzo, the fake ass eye and the arm that was implanted in you. Show your fucking founders what kind of treatment you deserve. Like the Sharingan eyes and the fucking DNA of Senju Hashirama in your arm. The Hokage narrowed his eyes at Danzo after sensing the little chakra spike from Danzo. Danzo, please remove your bandages so we can see. Danzo slowly stood up, then he snapped his fingers, causing a smoke bomb to go off and the sounds of fighting and hysterical laughter to fill the room. After a while, the smoke didn't clear, and someone in the hall became agitated, so he flared some of his wind chakra, clearing the smoke towards the open door and the window. The clan heads had a few around their feet, while Naruto was idly sitting on a pile of 15 bodies, with at least 50 kunai, 20 shuriken, and 3 tantos sticking out of his body, an axe buried into his neck, and his naginata resting in the skull of the man in the pile. Hey, how about a hug? The queasy look on the man's face is too much for Naruto, and he lost it, the axe in his neck wiggling dangerously as he laughed. Ha ha ha, ow fucking hell. Abruptly, a chunin carrying a scroll appeared in the space. There, Hokage. Sama. How the fucking works, why the fucking works, when the fucking works. Fuck. Akamichi Choza leaned in to whisper in Yamanaka Inuichi's ear, his longtime friend. The joke was met with laughter from both men, who stopped when the man managed to gather himself. After clearing his throat, he bowed to the Hokage and gave him a scroll. Well, he certainly understands the diversity of the word. Hokage. Sama, a message from the Raikage. The chunin nodded as the clan heads sat down, and after a few minutes, the Hokage took out a pipe to calm himself. After taking a few puffs, he looked over to the clan heads and was silently thankful that the civilians had been knocked out. Naruto was ripping the weapons out of his body rather brutally, and his wounds were healing, more like they were regenerating, while he finished and sheathed his Zanpakuto. His mask and cloak vanished into nothing as he sat back down on the pile of corpses. With the third Raikage's sons teaming up and killing him, the village of Kumo has a new leader. Now the fourth Raikage, the oldest son, wishes to try a new treaty. The opportunity to assist our Jinchuriki in fully controlling the Biju's chakra, just like their own Jinchuriki do, is one of the main benefits. They are willing to let our shinobi pass through the land of lightning and would like their shinobi to be able to travel through the land of fire. Along with a missions trade, one of their most significant wishes is. Shibi said in a calm monotone, they are willing to do a birthing trade. Gasps went through the room, as birthing trades are uncommon and usually only carried out when someone is in extreme need. In a birthing trade, both sides offer a male of importance and a female of importance, and the men have the men impregnate the women of the other country in order to produce a child to start a clan. Who do they wish to send forward? The one and only user of Black Lightning, Darui Kumo, is a prodigy. Concerning the women, Ni Yugito is being sent. Additionally, they are willing to give us 3 C, B, and A. Rank, 10 Lightning Jutsu, and 1 S. Rank Jutsu. The clan heads, who were very proud of Kumo, gasped again at these terms, all in favor of accepting Sei. Not to mention information on a group of S. Rank criminals that has popped up with Uchiha Itachi inside. The unanimous vote left Naruto sitting there looking uncomfortable, as if he were pleading to be allowed to go and spend the rest of his day elsewhere. Every one of you is fired. Anbu, tidy up this mess. The following day, Naruto was bored because no one had the stones to attack him and he had 2 days until the Chunin exams began. Then, he thought of a certain snake mistress and went to a dango stand, figuring she would eventually drop by. He was relieved to find her there, and he walked in and sat down in the booth opposite her with a smile. Anko looked up and saw the object of her thoughts, trying to figure out her feelings for anyone because she had barely allowed her current friends into her life. She settled for a smile and looked into his lone eye, seeing very well. Hidden pain that was nearly like staring into a mirror. Her life was difficult because the village is quick to judge people for the transgressions of others. With a smile, Naruto gestured with his hands. Still stopped in to say hello, nothing major. Hey, are you going to get some dango or is that it? Naruto shrugged, patted his haori in search of his wallet, and then seemed a little irate as he opened his cloak slightly to reveal his spear extended slightly and stabbed through his leg. He then reached over and yanked the spear out of his leg, getting some on Anko's dango. Anko just shrugged and ate the dango, which caused Naruto to raise an eyebrow and then grin bloodthirsty. Anko returned it fully, making some signs once more. Are you having fun? Naruto grinned and withdrew the spear, putting it back into his haori. Very much actually, your blood is delicious, remember. Perhaps a fresh blood glaze for your dango would be appropriate? Naruto simply grinned, giving her the blush she was hoping for. Only if it's yours, nah. Ru. 2. Kun. If you go on a date with me, maybe you can get some. Oh, are we utilizing bribery? Naruto smiled back at her. Anko smirked back at him, saying, only if you see it that way. I want to see it as a perk in going on that date. Well, I suppose that is a more accurate perspective. When he realized she had left him with the bill, he sighed and shook his head. Naruto looked up to see the proprietor of the dango shop standing over him. With that, she got up and ran out the door to look for Kurenai and get ready. I witnessed the events. Remember, if you hurt her, I'll chop you up and scatter your remains all over the world. Naruto gave the man a sly smile and gestured, sensing that the tattoo on his shoulder was an older Anbu design. Naruto put down some money, left the building, and headed towards his apartment to get ready for the night. I'd be more concerned for my health in the end. Even if I did hurt her, she would tie me up and relieve stress. The man laughed and limped away, revealing a prosthetic leg to Naruto. Later on in the evening, Naruto was wearing a red dress shirt and a pair of black pants. He convinced a merchant to give him. He was standing outside Anko's house waiting for her to answer the door. Soon she opened the door and he gulped and thanked Jashin Sama for his good fortune. Anko was wearing a one-strapped blue dress that ended at her knees. The dress hugged her curves but didn't restrict her movement. Her hair was in a low bun, probably done by Kurenai, and she had simple strapless shoes. Naruto smirked and offered his arm, which she gladly accepted, and they walked off. They walked up to a one-story building that Anko immediately recognized as the most expensive but greatest restaurant in the Land of Fire. She and her friends all compiled their mission pay of A and a few S. Ranked missions from an entire year and got Yugo in for her birthday with one guest of her choice. She glanced over to Naruto, wondering how he managed to get them in. Then as they walked in, he merely glared at the clerk and he brought them to a table. Then it hit her, he forced their way into the restaurant until a man in a suit walked into the room and immediately walked to their table. Ah, Naruto. San, I hope there haven't been any issues with the workers. You must be the gorgeous Anko that I have been hearing about. I can tell you that everything is free for you tonight, so stop worrying about the cost. I owe Naruto for saving my daughter from an attempted rape, the man said, waving Naruto away. The two had as good of a conversation as a mute and a torture specialist could have. After they finished eating, Naruto and Anko left the building and wandered through a nearby forest, confusing Anko until they came to a waterfall, which Naruto pulled Anko around and went behind. Inside the waterfall was a small clearing with a blanket and a small basket at its center, and a bottle of wine and a couple wine glasses. He sat her next to the basket and sat opposite from her. He then opened the basket and took out a bottle of wine and poured them each a glass, but before they could drink, he put a tiny drop of his blood. "What made you add your own blood to the wine, then?" With a sly smile, Naruto gestured. "It's so we can enjoy the wine without getting shit-faced. My blood has healing properties that will prevent drunkenness if consumed." Anko smiled, and it turned into a slight smirk. "Oh, you don't think you can avoid taking advantage of me when I'm intoxicated?" Naruto was not even slightly fazed. She said in a sing-song voice, "No, I just wish to enjoy your company. But if you wish to get drunk, then go ahead. Though if anything I would be afraid of you taking advantage of little old me." Naruto smirked at her blush and produced a plate containing 2 sticks of red-tinted dango, labeled blood-glazed dango for your enjoyment, mistress. Naruto gave her a small mock bow of his head and smiled at her while she stared at the dango with stars in her eyes. He smirked and said, "Feed me, Naruto-kun." She ate the dumpling, savoring the taste of the blood mingled with her little piece of heaven. He fed her another, and they spent the remainder of the evening in the clearing before finally drifting off to sleep in each other's arms. The following day, he was the first to wake up, and he dressed Anko in bridal style, took her home, found her spare key, and put her to bed. He left the house after locking it again, not realizing that she woke up halfway through and fell back asleep in his arms. He then went to meet with his team and make plans for tomorrow's exam, knowing full well that it would probably aggravate him greatly. As he moved toward Training Ground 8, Kurenai, Yugo, and Hana arrived at Anko's place, hoping to get all the information from the youngest member of their little group. As soon as the door opened, Kurenai, being the motherly type, drilled her with questions like was polite, did he try anything, and did they use protection? The last one made Anko blush before she was dismissed. "Kami is flawless. He didn't go over what I gave him permission to do, but he also didn't let me bully him. He was compassionate, but he also had a murderous demeanor. He took me to the restaurant where we managed to get Yugo free entry in exchange for protecting the manager's daughter from thugs. Then, to keep us sober and enjoy the wine and each other's company, we went to this clearing behind a waterfall and brought this incredible wine, to which he added a drop of his blood." Kurenai was nodding in agreement as the other two giggled and carried on with their conversation. "He fed me dango and we fell asleep, then he woke up and carried me home this morning and locked the place up and left."
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.